I felt really bad because I couldn't cook anymore. And I'm like, you're not being a good wife. You're not being a good mother, because you're not, doing for your house and everything. And I'm thinking those thoughts. My family's not thinking that way at all.
Right.
They're, eating out every day. They're loving it, so
Hi, everyone. It's me, CK, the creator and host of the podcast Bed, Back, and Beyond. Most likely, if you found my podcast, it's because you've injured your back or neck. I herniated a disc in 2019, and I will never forget the physical and emotional trauma that came with that injury. And that's why I created the Bed, Back, Beyond podcast. I wanted to give a one-stop shop of positive recovery stories from serious neck or back injury to those of you in need. And this is where I would like to ask for your help. If I have been an encouragement to you in any way, would you consider hitting the subscribe or follow button? I would love to get this podcast out there more and in front of the eyes of those who need it. And also, I would love to find people who are willing to share their positive story of recovery from any type of back or neck injury. If you're someone who would like to share your story on the show, head over to bedbackbeyond.com and click Share Your Story.
You're listening to Bed, Back, and Beyond, sharing positive stories of recovery from serious back or neck injury. Your host is CK, who's 11 minutes older than her twin sister. In this episode, we're joined by Kimberly, a teacher whose faith strengthens her through recovery.
Hi, Kim. Thank you so much for joining me on the Bed, Back, and Beyond podcast. Before we jump into your herniated disc journey, I would love just to learn a little bit about you. Do you mind telling us about yourself? Any hobbies?
Sure. So I am 45 years old. I am 40 years old. All right. In the 40s. I'm a special education teacher and have been for 9 years. I'm married and I have like the best support system in the world. I'm married. I've been married for 22 and a half years to my wonderful husband. And we have 3 adult children. My oldest son is 25. My daughter is 19. And my youngest son is 18. And he just turned 18 right after Christmas on the 27th. So I'm still trying to get used to the fact that I have an 18-year-old, that my youngest is 18. So it's like weird. And my mom and my stepdad, they're huge supporters of me too. And my sister, my niece and her family. So, I couldn't do anything without them, so it's always great to have a great support system, and they have been so helpful with me going through this journey.
That's great. And what area are you from?
I am in Eastern North Carolina in Goldsboro.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm about an hour away from Raleigh.
Okay. Nice. I spent some time in Silva, North Carolina. I think.
Is that like the mountains area?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. A little further west from you.
A lot.
Yeah. A lot. Okay.
I'm closer to the coast.
Okay. Nice. Now, is your 18-year-old son the prince of the family, or no?
He thinks so. No, actually, my daughter thinks she's the queen, but there's only one queen in this house. And
that's right. That's right. I am one of 5 kids, and I'm a twin. My oldest sister, of course, had all the strict rules. And then the youngest is an 18-year-old. Well, he's not 18 now. Oh my gosh, he's like 30 something. But man, was he spoiled? The youngest, so we always call him Prince. The Prince, he got a car, he got a drum set. We weren't but after 5 kids, you're tired, I guess.
I'm the youngest in my family. My husband is the youngest in his family. He came from a family. He has 6 other siblings, and I only have my sister. So sometimes we battle about, who gets their way, because we're the youngest and we're used to getting our way. So,
Yeah. So tell me, how did your injury start?
Okay, so I will start off, and I didn't get a chance to mention this, and I almost forgot, but I don't want to forget. CK, thank you so much for this platform and allowing me to come and tell my story. I found your program when I was searching for information about microdiscectomies on YouTube, and your program came up, and it was so helpful to see that someone else was experiencing what I was experiencing. So, your page really helped me. So I wanted to tell you thank you for
Oh,
that.
thank you so much. Thanks for saying.
My journey started off, I was diagnosed with degenerative disc disease. I've had that for about maybe 3 or 4 years, and I've been treating that with epidural spinal injections. And so
Okay.
I get those injections twice a year. And on September the 10th, I was just laying in bed, just watching TV, and I turned, and I'm not sure what happened, but I got this really sharp pain in my right hip, and I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what was going on. So I know I'm more comfortable on my couch than I am on my bed. So I got off the bed and tried to make it up front to the couch, and I couldn't really walk because of the pain. So I kind of crawl, and there was no one at home at the time, so nobody could help me. So I had to crawl to the couch and sat there for a while. My husband eventually came, and I told him what was going on, and he helped me from then on out. um, I have fibromyalgia, and I have
Oh,
had fibromyalgia for almost 8 years. March will make 8 years that I've had
yeah.
fibromyalgia. So when the pain happened, I was thinking it was just another fibromyalgia flare.
Do you
So
mind explaining what fibromyalgia is, but also what degenerative disc disease is?
yes, okay. So degenerative disc disease is just basically your discs are like, they're not normal. They're out of shape. Some are big, some are normal. They may be shifted because of different issues with your back. Um, that was diagnosed by an x-ray.
Okay.
And then fibromyalgia is when you have pain all over your body. And I've had, you know, I have a high threshold of pain. So, when pain hits me, normally I'm able to just, go, just forget it.
Right.
Um, but this pain that I had, it was just really, really tough. So every once in a while, I do get fibromyalgia flares where it kind of, stops me from moving for a little while. And so I have to like take medicine and just lay there until it decides to pass. That Since I have, learned about the disease, and since I've had it for so long, I can kind of stop the flares before they begin by, and I have, different ways of treating. I prefer holistic treatments.
Mhm.
Um, I'd rather not have a lot of medicine going through me if possible. So I prefer to change things with my diet and, with exercise and everything. So since I've had fibromyalgia, I have cut out all caffeine. I don't eat red meat. I don't eat pork. I don't eat shellfish, mainly because of an allergy, but I also don't eat it because of that. So,
Those are
and
all
those little changes help.
yeah.
They do
Those
help.
are all inflammatory
Mhm.
foods, correct? Okay.
Right,
Mhm.
right. I try to be on an anti-inflammatory diet. So I eat mainly vegetables, and I'll have like chicken or fish, but
Mhm.
I try to eat, and eating better has helped a lot. It
Okay.
really has with my pain and everything. And I have a lot of people, when I tell them I'm not doing caffeine and I haven't had caffeine for years, they're like, wow, how do you do that? It was a struggle at
Mhm.
first.
Yeah.
Anytime you change something that you've been doing for years, it's a real struggle.
Mhm.
But once I got used to the changes, and once I saw how it was helping my body and I wasn't hurting as much, then I was like, okay, this is something I need to do. So it got a lot easier as time went on.
Great.
Okay.
So then you get hit with this pain in September and
Yes.
your initial reaction is, "Oh, it's fibromyalgia again."
Yes. I thought
Okay.
it was fibromyalgia. So I did my usual, get on the couch, take medicine, just chill out, right? And so that helped. So I was able to, just continue on with my life, go to work and everything. Um, then, couple of weeks have passed, and then the pain in my hip starts to really be aggravating. So at this point, I'm realizing it's not just fibromyalgia, something else is going on. So
Okay.
I went to my regular doctor, and she put in an order for me to have PT on my hip. And then I also went to my pain doctor, my pain management doctor, and she gave me an injection in my hip. None of it helped, you know. Nothing was helping with this pain. So then, I just continued on, kept pushing and going to work. It was really hard to continue to work while going through all of this. So about a couple of weeks more had passed, and now the pain is not only in my hip, but it's now radiating up and down my right leg all day long. So at this point, that's when the limping started, and I just couldn't really get around like I used to. So I went to the ER. I got to a point I couldn't take the pain anymore, and that's saying a lot for me because I don't go to the ER.
Yeah.
I hadn't been in 5 years. So I went to the ER, and they treated me, and they were not sure what it was either. So they sent me to go get x-rays. And in the x-rays, it showed that there was something going on, but they couldn't really pinpoint it. So they gave me a Toradol shot and some Tylenol. And they also put in an order for an MRI. So I've had many MRIs before. It wasn't a big deal, So I had to wait about 2 weeks for that appointment. And so then I ended up going to that appointment. I worked that day, and then I went to the appointment at 6 p.m. And they did the MRI. It was very painful to lay on the table, because I was still in a lot of pain at this point. And so I did the MRI, and I wasn't expecting to have my results for, maybe a few days. Because that's normally how it is when I have MRIs. They take forever for me to get my results back. My results were back that next day before 12 o'clock.
Wow.
Yeah, it was quick. So right then, that told me something's wrong, for them to get it back to you really quickly like that. And so I was at work, and I saw that the results were there. And I said, well, my kids left at 12. I get a break between 12 and 12:30. So my kids were gone. I was in the room by myself. And I said, well, let me go ahead and check my MRI results, which was a bad move. I should have waited until I got home. I'm still thinking it's not going to be a big deal. It's just, my DDD acting up or whatever, So I go and I check my MRI results, and it said I had a huge herniation between L5 and S1. And
That was
it
me too.
said, yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah. L5,
Yeah.
S1.
So then it said I had central stenosis
Okay.
and some other things going on in that one little area. And when I saw those results, I just started crying. I just cried because I knew, and I did a little research then, but then I knew that I was going to have surgery. I knew it.
Yeah.
And so I'm just in my room crying. Of course, this is when everybody wants to come into my room as far as coworkers and everything.
Right.
And they see me crying, and I'm like, oh, and I have to explain to them why I'm crying. And then, I'm trying to go up and talk to my principal and tell him about it. I'm in the hallway crying. So people are stopping me and saying, what's wrong, Miss Sutton? I'm like, I'm not a person who likes to share, a lot about my journey because I don't want to be seen as complaining.
Yep.
So everybody saw me, just break down, and that, hurt my feelings because I don't want to, people to see me in that way. But I was really, really upset that I was going to have surgery. I have not had surgery in 10 years. So I was hoping to keep that streak going. Sadly, I didn't.
I can relate with the not wanting to show emotions, even when it was just me and my husband. For some reason, I thought I needed to be stoic, and that crying in pain was a sign of weakness.
Right.
And he was rubbing my shoulders one night, and they were hard as a rock. And he said to me, "Can you just cry, please? Just cry." So So I let it out, and it
Yeah.
did feel the tension go out. But
Right.
I don't
Right.
know why
Right.
we're like that.
We always feel like we have to be strong, like we can't have weak moments. I don't
Right.
get it.
Yeah. And it's not
You
helpful for the emotional side if you're
right.
trying to avoid dealing with the emotions.
Right. Right.
Ugh. So that
Uh,
was still September when you got the MRI, or was
this
that a little
was
bit
this was late October.
October? Okay.
Uh-huh. And so a couple of weeks have passed after the MRI. Pain management wanted to see me. And so I went in and talked to my doctor who usually does my steroid injections for me.
Mhm.
And he said, we're going to have to do another injection. And I'm like, okay, it's not a problem. And so he looked at the MRI and he said, would it be okay for me to shoot you in a different area than I normally, put the shot? And I said, that's fine. And so he said, no, normally I get my shot like right in the middle of my lower back.
Mhm.
It works great. But he said, let me shoot it in the area where the L5S1 area is. And I said, okay, that's fine. And so he put the injection in that area. And I felt that injection run all the way down my right leg. It
Like
was like,
in pain or
no, it was like it was just like like water rushing, through.
Oh.
It was
Oh.
weird. I've
Ugh.
never felt that. It was so weird, but I could feel it immediately just run through my leg from the top to the bottom. It didn't run back up. So that was like, ugh.
Yeah.
But it helped. It helped for like maybe a week.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
only a
That
couple.
seems to be what a lot of people say who end up getting surgery, that the injection only helped for 1 or 2 weeks.
Yes.
And there are some people who have gotten the multiple of 3 injections, but I only had 1 injection and was like, it wasn't
Really.
worth it for me to try another one.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm. The only reason why I got it is because I'm so used to getting them now. It
Right.
wasn't an issue for me.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm
So.
curious, you may not know the answer to this question.
Mhm.
I was told by some random person that those type of cortisone injections have a limited return, meaning after a while your body gets used to them
Yes,
and they would have. Is that true? Have you
it
been
is
told
true.
that okay.
It's true.
Yeah.
Like I know, like I was saying, I was only getting them for 2 times a year.
Right.
But now I'm getting to a point where they're not working as well. So I'm going to have to
Oh.
like bump it up a little. But the reason why I only get it twice a year is because I have other areas in my body where I have to get steroid shots.
Mhm.
And I have to limit how many I get,
Mhm.
because of insurance.
Right.
You
And
know,
because
so,
we're so young,
mhm,
because we're so young, we don't wanna use up all of our cortisone so
right,
early.
right.
Yeah.
So I have knee issues. I have to get injections in my knee probably about 4 times a year. And
Okay.
then along with the back injections, I don't know the exact amount I can have a year per my insurance, but I know it's not that many.
Right.
So I have to keep up with how many shots I have. But like you said, they stop working after a while. So I'm going to have to start getting more injections after this because I don't know. But they did offer me like a different injection that works a little bit, stronger.
Mhm.
I'm not really, wanting to do that just
Yeah.
yet. I'm still researching that shot, so I'm
Right.
not gonna do that.
Okay, so you had 1 injection and only worked for about a week.
Right.
Did you go back to the pain management doctor, or did you then decide, "I need to see a back specialist, a surgeon?"
Well,
Sorry.
pain management decided at that appointment that they were going to send me to a neurosurgeon.
Okay.
I had not been to a neurosurgeon in a while. The first time I went to a neurosurgeon, I did not go to a great neurosurgeon.
Mhm.
She told me I went for my fibromyalgia and I was trying to find, treatments that would help out more. And she basically told me that I just needed to get a massage.
Okay, interesting.
Right.
So maybe
Right.
some doctors, I remember years ago, some doctors didn't even believe fibromyalgia was a
Mhm.
real thing.
I think
So,
she was one of those who did not believe in it.
yeah.
So I was just really disgusted with, neurosurgery.
Yeah.
So when I heard that I was having to go to neurosurgery again, I'm like, oh gosh. And we only have one neurosurgeon in town. So I
Oh.
had to go to that same office.
Oh, geez.
Thankfully, I did not have to see that same woman
Okay.
because it had been years since that appointment had happened. And by then, they had many other surgeons in the clinic that I could see, you know. So I went to the neurosurgeon and I was super nervous. I really did not want to go because I just knew that he was going to say surgery, you know.
Mhm.
I had been referred by 2 different doctors to go, so I just knew I had to go. So
Yeah.
I went to my appointment and it was crazy. I was very nervous and the doctor just busted in. Literally just busted into the room. He had a computer in his hand and he had my MRI pictures up. And
Mhm.
he said, "Oh my God, you know, your herniation is so huge. That thing has to come out." And I'm like, that's not what I wanted to hear. Um, I have anxiety. I have diagnosed anxiety.
Mhm.
So when someone tells me something, you can't just bust out and tell me that in that way. You kind of have to ease it in
Yeah.
for me. So for him to just say it that way, my anxiety just shot through the roof. And so he went and helped, you know, talk with another patient, left the computer there. And then he came back in and he seemed to calm down a little bit more.
Mhm.
And so he explained the pictures to me and explained what I was seeing. The pictures were terrible from what he showed me. The area, the L5S1, it
Mhm.
was huge. It was crazy how big it was, you
Yeah.
know.
Did he
Um,
happen to tell you the millimeters or no?
Mm-mm.
No.
He didn't tell me that. He allowed me to take pictures though, so I can go home and show everybody. So he scheduled my surgery for December the 6th, which was only like maybe a week and a half or so away.
Oh,
So I didn't have much time to prepare.
you didn't do any physical therapy then in
No,
between? No? Okay.
I didn't. And because everything happened so quick, I had the PT referral for the hip, but because it wasn't my hip, I no
Mhm.
longer had the PT referrals. We just got rid of it.
Right.
So I never had a chance to have the PT referral for my back put in.
Right.
And then the doctor said, the neurosurgeon said, I see that you haven't had PT, so we're going to try to send this surgery request up to your insurance without it because he believed that if I did PT, it would damage my back even more.
Okay.
So we never did it. So I'm just working, you know, trying to get through. At this point, when I'm going to work, I am completely struggling. I don't know how I get out of the bed every
Yeah.
day. At this point, my whole right leg is hurting, but the pain is sitting in my right ankle. You know, that's where it hurts the worst. And so I'm just doing a lot of limping and just, you know, barely getting around. And, you know, when I get in my classroom, I'm just sitting. You know, I
Mhm.
can't, you know, if students need help, they would have to come to me. So it
Right.
was getting really difficult. It was getting very difficult for me to continue to work. So on 12/5 at 3:30 afternoon in the afternoon, I get a call from the neurosurgeon's office. And they said that the surgery was going to have to be canceled
Oh,
because I didn't have the PT done. And my insurance did not want to pay for the surgery because there was no PT involved.
yeah.
And I was, you know, I cried
Yeah.
again. um, um, so I was very upset because I was in so much pain. I wanted this surgery so bad, and now it wasn't going to happen.
The mental challenge of a back injury is something people often find quite difficult. In fact, the forums are full of people looking for tips and tricks because they are overwhelmed with negative emotions and don't know what to do. That is why I created the Watch Me Rise PDF. It is 36 pages of downloadable and printable coloring pages for adults, many of which have encouraging sayings to help you get into the right mental space during this injury recovery. Things just to help to keep you focused on recovery and not focused on fear. Check it out at bedbackbeyond.com, right on the homepage.
They told me my surgery was canceled, and I was very disgusted. I'm a woman of faith, so I just
Me
prayed.
too. I'm a pastor's wife.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so you get it.
Yeah.
I just prayed and prayed and prayed, and I did not understand why I couldn't have the surgery now, on that day. And so that day came and went. I went back to work the next day. I had already told my students I wasn't coming in because I was having surgery. I told my coworkers I wasn't coming in. So when I came in the next day, the surgery date, everybody was like, "Why are you here? You're
Aw.
not and it got to a point where it just became too much. And so I just, again, I cried.
Yep.
And I cried in the cafeteria. So people really saw me cry. And this was like during breakfast. So I just broke down and I
Yeah.
just lost.
Well, it
And
feels like you're going to be stuck in that pain forever.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And it felt like I would never get any relief.
Right.
And at this point, every day it was worse and worse and worse.
Mhm.
And so my assistant principal happened to be in the cafeteria at that time. And she said, well, just go home,
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
went and still upset that day. And that afternoon, the neurosurgeon's office called me again, and they said, we're going to have the doctor talk with your insurance company to convince them that you need this surgery, and to ask them if they would do it without having the PT there. And so they were going to have that conversation that day, and they would let me know how that went. And so they went by. Actually, a couple of days went by, and then the neurosurgeon called back and said that everything was approved. And so I was, excited.
Yeah.
I was like, please go ahead and put me on the calendar as soon as you can. It doesn't matter, I'm ready. And so they squeezed me in to an appointment on December 21st at 2:30 in the afternoon. So I was thankful, super, super thankful.
Yeah.
So I told them, that I was having like a lot of pain, and it was getting hard for me to walk, and it was getting hard for me to go to work. And so they said, well, we'll just write you a doctor's order. You don't have to go to work until later, till after the
Right.
surgery, your recovery time. And so that day, I sent everything up to my principal and everything, and let everybody know that I was just going to be out for a while. Everybody was okay with it. Nobody's had any issues or anything. So I sat at home from 12. It was 12/8 at this point, December the 8th. And so from December the 8th through the 21st, I was just home in pain.
Mhm.
And anxiety was just building, building, building. You're never going to have this surgery. You're always going to be in pain, so, diving deeper into God. And, God, you've got to bring me through this. This is, I can't keep living like this.
Right.
I couldn't do anything around my house, couldn't cook, couldn't clean. It was just, I'm just laying there,
Yeah.
I don't know if you experience, that same feeling of just not being able to do anything.
Oh yeah.
It's tough.
It's so tough. And for some reason, we let ourselves start to feel, or at least I did, start to feel guilty because I
Yeah.
wasn't doing the cooking or the cleaning. I'm laying on the couch. And my husband was amazing too, and he's being as supportive, and yet I'm beating myself up.
Yeah. I did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
So I felt really bad because I couldn't cook anymore. And I'm like, you're not being a good wife. You're not being a good mother, because you're not, doing for your house and everything. And I'm thinking those thoughts. My family's not thinking that way at all.
Right.
They're, eating out every day. They're loving it, So yeah, and they were all so supportive. They were helping out with cleaning and cooking. My husband, bless his heart, he's a truck driver, so he's home every night though. But he gets home late sometimes. And at this point, he was in school too, to get another endorsement on his trucking license. And so he was going to school Tuesdays through Thursdays from 6 to 10. So he was working all day and then going to school at night. And then he would also go to school on Saturdays from 7 to 4. So I was, pretty much without him for a lot. But when he was here, he was very supportive, just really helpful. And, again, like you, I was beating myself up because I couldn't do anything.
So your surgery was December 24th. Today is January 13th. So you are fresh off of the surgery table still.
Yes. So surgery came December 21st. My mom and my husband took me to Raleigh because that's where they did the surgeries. Raleigh is about an hour, maybe an hour and some change away from me. So we had to travel. I got there and I was fine. I was doing great. I was ready for the surgery. No anxiety about it whatsoever. And then they took me to the back, explained everything. I was fine. Then they told me to put the gown on. And that's when it hit me. You're getting ready to have surgery. So my anxiety was like, it hit 11. It went from 1 to 11 just that quick.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this thing is really getting ready to happen. Now, the reason why I was so anxious is because I have trouble with the anesthesia that is given during surgery.
Okay.
I don't do well with it at all. In years past, I have a hard time waking up from having anesthesia. And I also had the nausea and the vomiting and all that stuff. So I knew this was getting ready to happen. When I found out about the surgery, when they gave me the original surgery date, I told the surgery coordinator, I told anybody I talked to, I have problems with anesthesia, just so you know. And so I got there. I told the nurse, this is the surgery day. I told the nurse, I told the 2 doctors, the anesthesiologist, I told everybody, I have problems with anesthesia. I have problems waking up. And they said, okay, we'll do the best we can, but we have to give you anesthesia. I told them I had the problems with the anesthesia. And they said, well, okay, how long has it been since you had surgery? And I said, well, it's been 10 years. And so they said, well, we're going to give you the anesthesia, but we have to give you like a little more because it's your back and we can't afford you to wake up during the surgery. So we're going to have, we're just going to have to, give it to you. And I'm like, because I knew it was coming. So had the surgery, and then it was time for me. They said they were going to wake me up and have me walk around right after surgery. I remember waking up, but I wasn't fully awake. And I remember standing, and I remember there were a lot of nurses around me, and my husband and my mom were there. And my husband and my mom were not yelling, but the nurses were. And they kept saying, Kimberly, we need you to wake up. Kimberly, wake up, wake up, wake up. And then I would drift back off and then come back. And then they're, yelling again. I later found out that it was December 21st and the surgery center was going to be closed for the next 4 days. And so my surgery was so late, it was at 2:30. I was the last patient. And then as soon as I left, they would be able to go home and be on vacation for a while.
I
So
knew
they
that's
were
what
ready
you
for me to go.
wake up, wake up.
Yeah, right. Hurry up and wake up. And so because I wasn't waking up, they told my husband, well, we might have to send her over to the ER, and just have her sleep there. And my husband, bless his heart, he said, if she can sleep at the ER, she can sleep at home. So no, we're going to take her home.
Yeah. Smart.
And I'm thankful for that because that would have been another bill.
Yeah.
I'm just sitting there sleeping, so I was really thankful that he did that.
Yeah.
So they got me dressed and they, I went home Um,
And it
I
was an
was.
hour car ride home,
It is.
right?
Yeah.
Did you
I
recline
didn't know
or
anything. I was out. That whole ride, I was just done. And I
your
got
husband was
home.
shoving you in the back seat
Yeah,
probably?
it was hilarious. If somebody would have done something to me, I would not have known. I was just done. So that when we got home, I don't know how it happened. I was in my pajamas and I was on the couch.
Mhm.
My family was kind of like, around me, just, chatting and everything. My mom was still there. So, my kids were out talking, to their grandma and everything. And they said I would, just interject myself into the conversation for a second and then go right back to sleep. I think at one point they were, laughing at me about something that I did, which I probably did do some stupid stuff. They were saying something and then I said, I can hear you, right? And then fell right back asleep. I don't remember saying that.
Oh, that's too funny.
Yeah, I
Did
was
you
just.
wake up, when you finally were aware, was there
Mhm.
any pain or did you wake up pain-free from the surgery?
I woke up later, a few hours later. I woke up, the pain was gone. Just, there was like a little bit of pain in my foot,
Mhm.
at the bottom of my foot. But other than that, I had no pain. I had
That's great.
no pain. All of that was gone.
That's
And
great.
I remember telling my husband, I was going to the bathroom. He was helping me to the bathroom. I remember telling him, I don't have any pain. I feel really good. This is the best I have felt in months.
Mhm.
Okay. And so, went to the bathroom, came back, got on the couch, and then that's when I, start the vomiting started. I,
Mhm.
vomited all over myself and
Yeah.
everywhere. Oh my gosh. And all that stuff that I expected to happen to me with anesthesia happened.
Yeah.
You know, I was very sick for like a few days.
Yeah. It's
Of-
nerve-wracking throwing
Mhm.
up after just having a herniation repaired, right? Because
Right,
you
right.
think, "This is gonna make me reherniate."
Mhm.
I
And
threw
that
I
was my
threw up that
thought.
night too.
That was my fear, that I
Mhm.
was going to reherniate.
Yep.
So every move I make, am I walking too hard? I'm going to reherniate.
Mhm.
Am I, I'm shifting in bed, I'm shifting on the couch. Am I moving too much? I'm going to reherniate.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was really, really scary.
Yeah. Now
Uh,
you're only 3 weeks post-surgery, so have you
mhm.
had any random flares of pain again?
I have not. Only it has been really good. I've had a really good recovery. The first week I was dealing with the anesthesia.
Mhm.
Um, the second week is when the incision pain really hit me hard. I
Oh,
mean,
okay.
really hard. Um, at that point, they were telling me to sit. I could only sit up for like 30 minutes,
Mhm.
and I had to lay down all the time. So
Mhm.
anytime I went into position from lying to sitting or from sitting to standing, it really, really hurt.
Yeah.
Um, but that was my only pain. And thank God I didn't have a fibromyalgia flare and have not had one. You
Oh,
know,
that's good. You would think with this amount of stress that this causes
Mhm.
that could so that's great.
Yeah, yeah, it's really great. Um, I had my 2-week appointment on Wednesday, and everything was going great. The incision is healing wonderfully. And they asked me, was I walking around? And I said, yeah, I've been walking since, like the second day, because when, before I had the surgery, they told me if you get up and walk, during week 1, week 2 won't be as bad, so I just made sure I did a lot of walking. I'm still, you know, trying to do a lot of walking around, and it's helping. I
Okay.
really feel like it's helping.
Did they give you the no bending or lifting
Yeah,
restrictions? For how
yeah.
long?
No bending, no lifting, no twisting, no pushing, no pulling
Mhm.
for 6 weeks.
Okay.
6 weeks.
And are
So
they
I bought a little grabber,
mhm.
because I was reading, and I saw that I would need a grabber to pick things up off the floor, because I've noticed, when they tell you don't bend, don't lift, don't twist, everything falls on the floor.
Yeah. Including the grabber sometimes.
Right, exactly. Then I have to tell somebody, could you grab my grabber?
Yeah. That's why you
But
need
so
2 grabbers.
yeah, right. So I've been using my grabber. I've been trying to limit, my bending. The only issue that I have is when I get out of the shower,
Mhm.
um, drying off my legs.
Mhm.
That's a big issue.
Yeah.
My husband has offered to help, but I try not to. I don't want to be a burden. I don't want to bother anybody.
Let him take care of you.
I know everybody tells me that, and he wants to take care of me so bad. Bless his
Yeah.
heart, he's so wonderful.
Yeah.
And he has, offered, and I always, I'm so hard headed, and I'm a person who does not like to ask for help.
Mhm.
I've got to get better in that. I
Yeah.
really do. I
Yeah.
have people who are willing and want to help me,
You know.
you know, and I'm not letting them. So I
Mhm.
have to, I got to do better about that. I really do.
Well, we are the clay, and
Yeah.
the fire is purifying us. So it might be teaching you a
Yes.
lesson about asking for help.
Yes, it is. It really is. This surgery has humbled me so much
Yeah.
that I have to, ask for help. And I'm realizing it's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
okay.
And I can say from a woman of faith to another, 4 or 5 years later, I can say, "Thank you, Lord, for the herniated disc because of the
Right.
blessings that have come
Right.
from having it."
Right.
So, it's
Right.
nice to know this is gonna be used, and it's gonna be used for a reason. You may not
Yes.
know what it is right now,
Right.
but something good will come out of this
Yes.
for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, um, since you've had the surgery and you're, years out,
Mhm.
what point did you know that um you were gonna be okay? Because I'm really scared about reherniating. At one point, did you realize you're not gonna reherniate and you're gonna be
T to be honest, this was tough for me emotionally, and I
Mhm.
had a little bit of a rough experience with my surgery and my recovery, took a while. It was about 6 months when I said to myself, like, "Hey, I think I'm feeling back to normal now." But that fear of reherniating lived in my brain for a good year.
Oh, wow.
Um, there's a my nerve is technically still pinched
Oh, wow.
because a chunk of the disc material is, like, glued to my spinal cord with scar tissue.
Mercy.
Yeah, so they did the laminectomy so that there's a big hole in the bone, and so
Mhm.
the nerve can move freely,
Mhm.
but if I overdo, like, exercising or if I have a really hard day at work and my back muscles tighten up,
Mhm.
it'll cause a sciatic flare.
Wow.
So it took me a year to just get used to that flare is not a
Mhm.
reherniation, it's just your back muscles being too tight. Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Because I
But it
am
was 6 months.
I am having some pain in my foot, my right
Mm,
foot.
mhm.
It's like a pins and needles type thing. And I asked my doctor about it Wednesday, and she said that it was, my nerves that were trying to get back to where
Yeah.
they're supposed to be.
Mhm.
I thought when I first started having that pain, I honestly thought I had reherniated.
Mhm.
Really, and it scared me so bad.
Yeah.
Um, so you said about a year before you realized you weren't gonna.
Yeah, emotionally. Mhm.
Oh, emotionally. Okay,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah. It was 6 months for me to physically feel like, "Hey, I'm getting back to normal." But it
Wow.
was emotionally, it was about a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm. I would
Okay.
I would have moments of just breaking down and crying months after
Yeah.
the
Okay.
whole thing. Yeah.
Okay. Well, from my story, I'm sure you know by now I'm a crybaby. So I've had those moments too,
Yeah.
uh, where I've just cried and thinking that I'm just not going to be healed. But God said, God is in control.
Yeah.
He is in control, and that has been. I have talked to. I am in therapy. I was in therapy before the surgery, and she told me that God is in control, and I have been standing on that firmly.
Right.
That He is in control, and He's got me, and He wouldn't bring me this far just to leave me. So He's always with me,
Right. Right.
and I will make it through this pain that I'm going through.
Right.
Mhm.
That's great. The pain and suffering comes while you are in his hands. It's
That's
not
right.
because he has dropped you.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. So, tell me a little bit about your Etsy shop that you have.
So I have my own business and I have been in business for 6 years. The name of my shop is 3MZ Designs, and Designs has a Z on it. And my business, the first few years of my business, I was making t-shirts and, making custom crafting items for customers. For the past 2 years now, I've been focusing more on designs. So I have an Etsy shop where I just make designs and I sell the designs. And I am a star seller, and I have made, I'm almost to 3,000 sales. I'm very close. So I focus more on the designs now. I still make shirts, I still make the other things, but I'm focused mainly on the design. So my Etsy shop is 3MZ Designs with a Z by Kim, and you can find all of my designs there. And I am planning to make even more designs and start a website soon. So
Oh, great.
folks can look out for that.
Definitely. I'll put the information up on the screen for people to see.
All right, thank you. I
Thank
appreciate it.
you. Kim, I appreciate so much you being willing to join me and just share your recent journey with your
Yes.
herniated disc. I'll be praying that your recovery continues to go smoothly
Mhm.
and you can see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes, yes. And I thank you so much for having me and allowing me to tell my story. And again, it feels good to know that someone has already walked this journey and
Mhm.
can, and I'm thankful for your webpage and on YouTube, your YouTube channel and your podcast, because people can go and see what the journey is like before, during, and after the surgery. So I'm super thankful for your platform. And I thank you for having me and allowing me to tell my story to everyone.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
And if you are someone who has a positive story of recovery from a serious back or neck injury, head over to bedbackbeyond.com and click share your story. I would love to include your journey on the podcast. Thank you again, Kim.
Thank you.